Okay, how about that? Is that better? I am full of bleh. Good evening, everybody. Welcome on into the Dragon's Den. My name's Digital Dragon, 3D printing variety streamer here on Twitch. Obviously not a pro streamer because one, I forgot to turn my mic on, and then two, my main camera, as you can see right down here, is frozen. So I've been messing with it this afternoon after work, trying to get it working again. I've moved it all over the place on USB ports. And I think I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and buy a new camera, regardless of whether or not I've got the entity, the new business stood up. And if I can somehow finagle it and count it as a business expense, I will. If not, it's going to be peace of mind because right now I'm losing mine. Yeah. So we're going to come over here, and this is going to be the highlight of the shot for today. So where did we leave off yesterday? We left off after a very, very long stream. Hey, Thunder Keys, welcome on in. By the way, let me just say this. Welcome on in, Chewy. Rittenhouse, how's it going? Rob C, Quantum Assembler, hey, what's up? Dark Golem, how's it going? Cruising Girl, hey, I know that person. I don't know if it's better, but we can hear you. Yeah, I forgot to unmute my mic. Probably not streamer, exactly, Chewy. Hey, Waters, how's it going? Welcome on in. Waters is, I believe, the person I was talking to about this particular machine going over to a local store here. Yeah, well, welcome on in. Welcome on in. Which camera? There's been a few with a couple of the Logitech failing. Exactly. So the camera right here that we're watching, like, hey, ooh, hi. This is a Logitech Brio 4K camera. The main camera up here, right? Sorry about the lights, but Logitech Brio 4K camera. This one keeps randomly freezing, and then it works great for months on end, and then it just starts randomly freezing again. If it was something that, you know, hey, there's new firmware, update the firmware on it, I would. I don't know. I can't figure it out. So I'm going to have to still try and figure it out. It's driving me nuts. I'm seriously like this close to getting a OBS bot camera and replacing that thing. Yeah, so this one is a 922C, works fine. The only thing is this is 1080p. These are 4K, right? I've got a 970, I think, that I was using as well. But, yeah, let me see if I can't move this back a tiny bit. Maybe raise it up so that we can get the whole shebang in here. But how's it going, Waters? This is what we've been working on. Theoretically, this should have been done well over a week ago. Okay. However, we got our box turtle built, and all we need to do is connect it in here. And in my grand idea, we need to add the Filomatrix to the tool head. So this now has the Filomatrix tool head cutter over here, right? And I'm like, okay, great. We got the Filomatrix on there. We plugged it in to a spare I/O port on the tool head board. And then when I went to flip it over and start working on the underneath to make sure that that was plugged in, that's when it hit me. I plugged it into the X in-stop port on the tool head board. Well, this has a separate XY pod that is home run back to the LDO breakout board. So I'm like, you're kidding me. So I can't use that one spare port that I had on the toolhead board. So now what do? Well, KB3D had provided me 4 Nitehawk-SB boards. So we put a Nitehawk board on here, which gave me the ability to plug in the filament runout sensor that is in the toolhead that we need for box turtle. Okay. Well, then I was like, okay, in order to do that, that's going to require a little breakout board. So I'm going to get rid of the one. We're going to put the other one in. Okay, great. Got that. I need to know how to wire it up and make sure I wire it up right. We go to the LDO documents for the new Rev D version of the 2.4 kit to see how they wired up the Nitehawk-SB board, because it has the Nitehawk-SB board. That's where we realized that the Rev D also comes with the LDO Leviathan. And that's where we fell off the cliff. So this now has a Stealth Burner SB with the cable chains remaining. Didn't want to switch over to umbilical. It's got a Leviathan board in it, so we had to go through and redo the Leviathan board. And give me 1 second, folks. Hey, Eagle, thank you. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you for the well wishes. And then we had to work through that. We were working on the firmware and stuff all day yesterday. We finished the wiring. We got the wiring. We validated the wiring was good. We started validating our end stops, right? The XY end stops. And we realized that our motors were swapped. So we had to swap the motors. And X and Y were homing, but Z was either always triggered or always not triggered. And we got to looking, and I realized, because I looked at the old board, I had switched it from 24 volt to 5 volt for the CNC tap. This is CNC tap D1, which uses a 5 volt only sensor. Luckily, we didn't blow this sensor, but I'm pretty sure we probably eroded some of its lifespan, because it's a 5 volt sensor and we had it plugged into 24 volt. It didn't fry, didn't let out the magic smoke. It just may not be happy for a very, very extended period of time. I cannot find that sensor anywhere, and the V2 moved from what is essentially an Omron end stop to the optical sensor. So when this goes, the option is going to be take the tool head off to include the mount and put in a CNC tap V2 or some other sensor place. But either way, it's going to involve the belts. And I'm like, I can't do that. So we got it working. We only have one filament sensor because of it. We can't do the one above and below the extruder gears because we're using the Y GPIO pin and the 5 volt to power the CNC tap. Okay. And then we were having issues with Klipper screen. If I commented out one of the lines that it told me to, which was the CANbus whatever line, then I never got out of console. As soon as I uncommented that, it was perpetually upside down. You know what the fix action was for that, guys? Last night, after we streamed for almost 10 hours, I took the box turtle off. I flipped this on its side. I pulled the SD card. And I reformatted the SD card. And instead of using Bookworm and running Kaya, I put Mainsail OS on it. Well, so here's the problem with physically flipping the screen. There's connectors right here that will interfere with the mount. I thought about it. I looked at it, and then I realized I cannot flip this screen physically because there's connectors right here that will interfere with the mount. So, yeah. So what I wound up doing was reflash this with Mainsail OS. And the trick that I was reading was when you're installing Klipper and it says, do you want to install the network device manager? And it default recommends to yes. The answer is an emphatic hell no, because it borks all the network management up within here. So, yes. Yeah, so the issue is this is a Big Tree Tech board, and right here where my finger is, right behind that bezel, can't see. So right here, right in the middle, there is like a JST connector right here, right at that bezel. So it would interfere with the mount if it flipped the other way. So long story short, we now have Leviathan. It's working. We have the Nitehawk-SB board. It is working, everything except the NeoPixels. I have a theory, and I can test that theory by just shutting it down. And in fact, let me do that. Let's shut this down real fast. How best do I want to do this? The rear panel isn't fully on, it's just slotted down in the back. I did put the panels on. Can I get this out? Probably not. So the only thing that I can think of is I remember the lights working, and as soon as we put in the thingamabobber, the thingamabobber being the CNC tap, as soon as we connected that up, things stopped working. So what I want to do is just undo the CNC tap here. Maybe, hopefully. Connector's in like the weirdest spot to try and pull out. There we go. So I've now unplugged the yellow and red wire, which is the CNC tap and technically the filament sensor. So I want to see, believe it or not, if it'll boot up and if the lights come back on. Because the only thing I can think of is it's not getting the 5 volts, or there's not enough 5 volts, or there's signal noise in the 5-volt line. But I got news for you. I'm perfectly fine if these lights don't work. Okay, so that didn't solve the problem. The only other thing that I can think of is that somehow I may have put the shroud on and not had all the pins lined up and somehow fried it. I don't know. I do have a couple of these LED sets in my KB3D cart right now. So we'll get these plugged back in so we can keep going. I can tell you that I did pull a CAN ID for this earlier today, this being the box turtle. So it looks like the AFC-Lite board is good to go. It just isn't talking because the software's not there. It doesn't have a config file. It's connected in and it's seen on the CANbus. It's just not, it's seen, but it's not known. That makes sense. So let me stick my head in here and plug this back in. That's plugged in. Put this back down and tighten that up. First. That way. Okay. So we're back to the way we were. Our box turtle is plugged in via the 4-pin connector in the back. Hence, like I said, why we're able to see it and talk to it. You've been debating about getting a cube Cartesian 3D printer, but don't know if of any besides the Creality Ender 5 or the Tronxy. How big do you want it? Because honestly, Waters, the Elegoo Giga is going to be a lot of work. There's way too many issues with the Orange Storm. You're going to have to make some changes to it. The Giga, it looks like the beacon and the tube are good upgrades for correct. And that's where I say you're going to have to put some more money at it. So you spend quite a large amount of dollars, then you're going to have to put several $100s into a beacon. And by several hundred, I mean $300+ into it for just the tube and the beacon. Then you have to have the custom mount. You're going to have additional custom cooling. Oh, wait, you're going to have to rewire things. You still have an issue with the bed heaters because it's 4 separate bed heaters and you can't run them all at the same, well, you can't heat them all up at the same time. You have to heat them up in succession. Otherwise, you pop the circuit. It's also a straight open air, which means you're limited to PLA PETG basically. So oh, hey Shaudel, thank you for the resub. Welcome on in. Yeah, it doesn't have to be too big. Well, interestingly, there's this new printer that just came out. It's called the K2 or what, K2 or K2 Plus or whatever it is. I just actually watched Sam Prentice's video on it, but that actually looks like a decent size. The question is how reliable is it going to be over time? Right? It's new out. There's just a handful on the streets. So I don't know. Tronxy is open air, but I was looking, there is like a, was it Viho or something like that, 600 that you can get enclosed. It's about $1,800 plus shipping. So, and that is 600 millimeter cubed, and you can get an enclosure for it. So Yes, I am well aware that the camera down in the bottom right, which is the main camera, is dead. In fact, I might as well just, I haven't turned it off just simply because I'll forget to turn it back on. But I will turn it off because it's freezing. I basically rebooted like 5 times. I don't know if it was like a Windows driver update that borked it or what. It's quite annoying. I am going to close that door for now. So we need to start working on getting this beautiful beast running. Now, right now, there is no bottom deck on this, so you do get to see some of the wires hanging down. I would have to physically cut one on my CNC, and I just haven't gone out. I can probably work on doing that here shortly. Yeah, no, it had completely stopped. It's foobarred. It's a Logitech Brio, and the funny thing is, this camera right here is a Logitech Brio as well. I don't get it. And prior to this stream, I sat here and moved this main camera to just about every USB port on the back of this computer, and it starts, and as soon as I flip a camera on to that one, about 5-6 seconds in, it hangs, and you see it drop and come back into device manager, which tells me it's most likely a software thing. However, I would expect it to mess with both cameras, which kind of tells me I now want to open it up and figure out what the issue is, because I have a feeling these were definitely purchased well over a year apart, and I have a feeling they're 2 different batches and using different chips on the inside. Cartesian cube bed dropper, Ender 5 Plus, 370 by 420. I really liked mine. The bed, when I bought mine off of eBay, the glass bed was shattered in the box. The guy gave me $50 back. So all in, I was just like $225, $250 for the printer. I put it together. I updated the board to a non-creality board, and I had to do some cleanup because it was a used one off of eBay that I won on an auction. The B wheels look like a Yeti orgy mating session, or somebody had a lot of cats. But the wheels, I cleaned everything up, got it assembled, had it running, and the wheels started strutting out even more, and or herring out basically, and I was like, done, and converted it to a 0G Mercury 1. But there's nothing wrong with the Ender 5. That bed is rock solid. Chewy now has my Z rails from that when I converted to the Hydra mod. But yeah, there's so many, like Cruising Girl. If you wanted to go linear rails, you could go linear rails on the Ender 5 without changing it to a Core XY like you do with the 0G Mercury 1 build. Well, yeah, that's the biggest thing is creality quality. But guess what? Tronxy isn't better. Tronxy, you're going to get the same thing. In fact, that big, huge Tronxy cube that I was seeing looked like it was using 2020 and 2040 rails. I'm like, on a 600 plus size printer, you're using 2020 and 2040? Like, I hope not. They were like, ooh, ball screws on the 4 corners of the bed. Ooh, great. Very rigid ball screws on a frame that probably racks like crazy, You didn't have Yeti Orgy on your bingo card? Yeah. Yeah. It's been there. I made that comment several times. Yeah, I mean, there you go, Chewy. Hey R2 Builder, how's it going? What's up? On a Big Tree Tech SKR Mini E3 V3 should be a decent board. Yeah, there's some things that you had to do, but I did swap out that board. I did swap out um the screen, because the screen that comes with the Ender 5 is not Klipper compatible. So if you do, so I went to the SKR Mini E3 V3 on it and Klipperized it, and then I swapped the screen out, and then I pulled all of that out, and it's now running, I think, a Manta M8P with a CB1 and a 7-inch display. So 7-inch HDMI display. Yeah, the Ender 5 screen is, I mean, it works only on the Ender 5 board. It doesn't work with anything else. Yeah, the Ender 5 S1 is 400 Canadian. But I'm telling you, Cruising Girl, look at eBay and see if you can get it cheaper on an auction, either the Ender 5 Plus or the Ender 5 Plus S1. You can find those larger Ender 5 Plus, which is, like I said, 370 by 370 by 420, I believe. You can find those relatively dirt cheap. Okay, so we've got this plugged in. We just verified we can home. Things are working right? Oh, forgot they like to remix Creality stuff. Well, my problem with the Ender line is the Ender 3, and then they've got like 12 different versions that they sell. He's looking for a Cartesian cube printer, not necessarily a Core XY. Yeah, I've in the shop, just abandoned. What is that? The Ender 3s? Anyhow, sorry, let me while we're chatting, let me go ahead and switch the screen. Yeah, 8 different versions of the Ender 3. So, a couple of things that I just thought of. I was looking at the manual, and I was looking at the LDO Fox Turtle kit, which, by the way, there is one that got shipped out today to me. I still haven't got a response as to where it's coming from or tracking info, but this is not that kit, but we'll see. I'll figure something out, because it would be really great to do LDO on LDO, but I think I'm going to have to keep it because it's a beta kit. However, longer story short there is, the AFC software, when I was looking at it, so we're going to come over here to Armored Turtles GitHub, and there's the AFC Klipper add-on. And looking down through here, got documents, automated filament changer, Klipper add-on, and here's the install. So we got to install the plugin. Okay. There is a configuration that's automated, and it does run the install AFC shell script at the end of this command. We're going to copy and paste over. And there's some things that we're going to have to do. So the reason I was talking about that is, if I remember right, they've updated this because the kits are going to be defaulting with the base model turtleneck. And right now, I'm either going to have to build a turtleneck to add to this, or I'm going to need to build a turtleneck 2 to add to it, or just leave it out. None of mine currently are running it, but it will help. It's that the turtleneck is basically like the filament buffer on the backside of a Bamboo Lab printer, and it helps synchronize the lane extruders with the tool head extruder. Okay, so we probably want some of that, so I'll have to get one of those built. But what we're going to do is fight around a printer being in my way. We're going to go ahead and SSH into the printer. And we're currently set up as Pi, Raspberry. And that gets us in. And we're going to be doing some copy paste functions, right? So we come over here and we have the automated configuration method here. So we're going to copy this, go back into our putty session, paste it in there, and hit enter. This is going to make sure we're in our base directory. It's going to do a git clone and pull down the software. It's going to cd into the Klipper add-on folder and then run the install script. And by the way, this is my first time seeing this, so the installation script will update the AFC Klipper extension to your system as the Discord, the GitHub, and the documentation site. Please select your installation type, box turtle or exit. So I want to remind you, the AFC add-on works with both the box turtle and the 8-track or cassette system, which is the one that kind of went up at the top that literally had enclosed spools that you would put in, like cassette cartridges. I don't have an ender graveyard anymore. I have, well, let me rephrase that. I've got 2 ender wires. I've got the ender XY, so they're not true enders anymore. I do have one ender that's in a box, but it is going to a coworker soon. And I mean, like, in the box, never opened. So he's getting... yeah, Reality Klipper screws everything up. Well, Chewy, I'm getting a beta kit. So you're on a pre-order. And Thunder Keys, you said your kit arrived today. Did your kit ship directly from LDO, or did it ship through like West or KB3D, Fabrico, or anybody like that? I'm just asking because I'm trying to figure out where mine's coming from. It's shipped from Jason? Okay. Then that's what I figured. So it'll take at least a week or so to get here. I don't see him sending those via air. Half pipe for ants. Oh my God, Cruising Girl. That is awesome. That is awesome. Did you guys, who was on KB3D stream last night? He did a bed mesh of the stock Solval SV08 bed. And yeah, it was crazy. It was like a full-on skate park for ants. You need to talk to Hector and get that order pushed? No. Okay, so, sorry, we need to click 1 here to install this for the box turtle. Please select your board type. You can select the AFC-Lite, which is number 1, which is the expected. So the MMBs were used just for the closed beta. They're going to support them for a little while, but the plan is to just only support the AFC-Lite board. And this one does have an AFC-Lite in it. Please enter your toolhead sensor pin if known. This should be in the format of MCU.pin or :pin. And this is NHK : something. Give me half a second here. Of course not. So let me do it this way. Docs, LDO. That'll get me close. The wiring guide, toolhead, PCB. There we go. We went into GPIO 12. GPIO 12. Okay, so NHK, lowercase, : GPIO 12. Please select your buffer system. Right now, I don't have one in place. I will have to print one, but I'm going to do a standard. I'm just going to tell it the turtleneck buffer for right now. Following questions will enable, disable various functions. Further configurations for your system are required to be set up in the macro vars config file. Do you want to add AFC includes to your printer config file automatically? True or false? Default is true, so if I hit enter, it should say yes. Do you want to enable tip forming? True or false? Default is false. We do not want tip forming. Do you want to enable a toolhead cutter? True or false? Default is true. We do want that. Do you want to enable the hub cutter? The default is false. We do not want the hub cutter. We want it in the toolhead. Do you want to enable the park macro? True or false? The default is true, so we're just going to hit enter and select that. We will want it to park. Do you want to enable the poop macro? True or false? Default is true. So we're going to enter. We do want the poop. So here's the thing. You can do poop and not have to do a purge tower, but if you don't do poop, you're going to have to do a purge tower. Either way, there's going to be waste. It just depends on whether you want to tune poop or you want to tune purge. Purge towers, I think you're setting up via the slicer. Poop, you can go in and change some values in the macro itself. Do you want to enable the kick macro? That just kicks it from wherever you're pooping. The default is true. Right now I'm going to say false. Because I don't want to just kick it everywhere. I do have a nozzle scrubber in the back, and I do have like a poop tray around it. I think I'm going to figure out how to make that bigger. But it's an option there. Apparently, it has to be capital FALSE. Do you want to enable the wipe macro? This would be the clean nozzle macro. It's set to true. We're going to be good with that, so I'm going to keep that. Okay. give me 1 second. I'm going to pull this over here so I can read it a little bit easier. Updating configuration files with the selected values. Added the include to your printer config. Checking if buffer configuration already exists in home printer data config, AFC hardware config. Updating Moonraker config so that you can update the software via Moonraker. Config updated, restarting Moonraker service. Okay. And it's asking for the password for the Pi. Put that in. And once again, right now it's just the angle of trying to read the blue color. I just can't read it at that angle, and I'm trying to look around the box turtle. So prior to starting Klipper, please review all files in the AFC directory to ensure they are correct. This includes especially the AFC macro vars file and the pins in the AFC hardware config. Once you have reviewed the files, restart Klipper to apply the changes. Okay, so there we go. We got that installed. Let me catch up here. Well, stock LOL Klipperize. The box turtle kits are beta and have some issues already. Be patient, and that is why they beta test kits. That is true. You're so sick of these failed prints. Why can't I get a bed of ABS prints to come out? Well, Chewy, let me tell you this. Do just a few. If you're trying to do a full bed, where are they failing? Because anything around the perimeter, you're probably going to have a lot more issues with, even if you've got an edge-to-edge heater, just because it's not good and heat soaked yet. I've actually been hearing good things about the fiberglass beds. Fiberglass or the Garolite? Prusa Mark IV has, I think, a fiberglass bed, works well. ABS on a P1S, okay. Yeah, I've heard about Garolite. I haven't heard about fiberglass beds. I've heard about somebody using a straight carbon fiber bed. Gotcha. Could be. Okay, so we were installed, and we need to go into our configuration here, not that printer, this printer, and look at a few things. So first off, we're going to do a refresh here, and that's going to pick up our new directory, which is AFC. Before I go in there, I want to look at our printer config, because I don't know where it made the changes. I just want to see where it made the changes. So we told it to add and include, and it's not up here at the main part. I didn't see it at the beginning of the file. So close your eyes real fast, and I'm going to desk scroll. Plays. Okay, there's our include Nitehawk board, and then here's our include AFC config board. I'm just going to take that and move it above the cut line, basically. That's all. Moving it above the cut line. Okay. And I do want to call the Nitehawk board before the AFC board, because remember, it's pulling at least one pin, and that's the filament cutter pin from the AFC-Lite board. And you know what? we told it GPIO 12, right? Which is the wrong ping, because GPIO 12 is the CNC tap. We needed to tell it GPIO 13, so we're going to have to verify that. Okay, so that's good. I'm not going to save and restart. I'm just going to save and go back. We're going to go into our AFC, and we're going to take a look at some things up and down. So we're going to look at the hardware config, and we just want to make sure, we're just going to go through and look at it. So there's a CANbus UUID here. Oops, where's our CANbus at? Come look at the only site that matters when we start thinking about CANbus, which is Esoterical's page. Just going to scroll down, say new build. We've got the CANbus network set up. We did that before. Cabling, we got that done. Next step. We've got our CAN bridge Klipper set up on the main board. I'm looking for the specific thing. Okay, install catapult. Go into DFU mode. I'm basically looking for the command I need to copy, paste, and run to get the UUID. Catapult, install. Click here for next steps. Blah, blah, blah. Right here. No, out of DFU mode. That's what I want, is this command right here, to query the CANbus to get the UUID. We'll come over here, and for giggles, I'm just going to CD back to the main directory, run this command, and we're seeing one CANbus UUID here. We're going to copy that. And that starts with 649 and ends in 45. So real fast, I'm going to close that, come back in here to my printer config, and there's that CANbus UUID for my main board. And we're just checking that it's different, and it is. So AFC hardware, we need to come in here and put our UUID in. There we go. So UUID's there. It will pull in the AFC-Lite config because that's the board that we told it to do. Force move. Temperature sensor of the AFC, so it's going to give us the temperature of the AFC-Lite board. Sets up the information for the stepper for all 4 legs. Didn't have to change anything there. Your tool head sensor located before the extruder, that's what we need to change. We're going to change that from 12 to 13. We don't have the tool head after the extruder gears plugged in. The filament switch for the hub is in the standard location. This is for the RGB for our front lane lights here. Okay. Gotcha. Hey, thanks for the follow, Wolfgang. And yeah, I don't know how much ABS ASA you do. I go through a lot of it. I definitely go through quite a bit. So this will be for our lights. We do not have the NeoPixels in the corner or any of the extras. So remember, there's 3 other NeoPixel things there. And we don't have the AFC buffer turtleneck installed yet. And we would have to set where those pins go to. Right now, what I'm going to do is comment those out. Because I haven't configured it or installed it yet. Okay. Yeah, I mean, looking at this, you're seeing a 2.4 with a box turtle. You'll probably remember seeing Iron Dragon over here with my logo on the side, the Trident with the blacked out panels, and the box turtle on top of it. So you have a case of 10 next to you? Only 10? Oh, I've got 12 right there on the shelf. Probably another 20 down underneath this table, and that's not even counting anything that's over in the thing. So yeah, he's only running 2 printers. Gotcha. So are you doing like printed or like PIF part stuff at Evocate, or is this just your own prints? So we're going to save this to lock in our changes. AFC config, I think there was 1 or 2 places in here we need to look at. And let me stop there and just come back through here and look at this. Okay, so configuration automated, right? It's going to ask us a bunch of questions and do a few things. Review the following files for any changes that may be required: the AFC config and the AFC macros. Okay. Here's for the buffers. Okay, so here we go. Mandatory configuration change. Prior to operation, the following checks and updates must be made to your system. Update the following values in the AFC config file: the tool STN, the tool STN unload, and the AFC Bowden length. So if you're using any of the built-in macros, the variables in the AFC macro vars config file must also be modified to match your configuration for your system. Okay, so in the AFC, we're looking for some specific fields. So we're in the AFC config. The type is box turtle. Once again, this same software can be used for 8-track. Usually commissioned for mostly cosplay right now, but some other functional commissions mixed in. I'll get the Voron back working maybe after the move. Cool. Yeah. Waters, that's the other thing we need to talk about. So once this is done and I can verify it's printing well, I want to work on getting this over to Evocate. Are you guys moving shop again, or because I know you guys were talking about trying to find new space? You got a cracked tool head and you're having to replace. If it's a stealth burner, you might want to just go ahead and build Filomatrix in. I'm just saying. Speeds, I'm going to leave those as they are. Full sensor after extruder is marked as 0 because we said false. It doesn't have a, there is a post sensor, but we're not using it. It's not wired up. The tool STN distance of 72, the unload distance of 100, and the Bowden length of 940. These are the things that we're going to have to look at. And this is where I'm going to cheat. So Iron Dragon was working. So I'm going to come up here and look at my old AFC config. And my tool STN length was 72. And the unload distance was 100. And my length of the Bowden tube was 1020. Okay. And there's a reason I'm cheating like that. Both of these are running a Revo, an E3D Revo Voron Edition hot end in a Filomatrix setup with a 1 meter Bowden tube. So that's why I cheat. So 72 and 100 works. The length here and Thunder Keys, I don't know why there is a period at the end of that length. I'm going to make that 1020 just like the other one. Moving into a much larger space, probably at the end of the month. Cool. Cool. Waters, I'll want to talk to you and possibly Beverly. Are you guys having another shop visit? Or like, what do you guys call those? Like a get together or anything at the shop? Because I might want to come out and hang out with you guys and chat with you guys some. Because I know you guys were looking for a larger space. But I definitely want to talk about, do you want this brought out before or after the move, or however that works, or what have you. So it's an old stock afterburner. So Wolfgang, are you going to reprint it as a stealth burner with Filomatrix? Can you see where I'm going here? We normally do one every first Friday, but we can talk anytime offline. Okay, cool. Cool deal. Yeah, because I just want to come and talk and chat about, you know, getting this over to you guys and the space that you guys are going to have and stuff like that. Because I am wanting to get into, you know, doing some PIF type parts and some other avenues. We'll leave it at that. So looking at our guide, it said that at a minimum, we need to look at those 3 things we just did. If you're looking, or if you're using any of the built-in macros and the variables, we need to look at the AFC macro variables. So we will go take a look at that as well. One thing to be aware of, you do see a section here for Spoolmon. If you guys are using Spoolman or Spoolmon, you can configure that in here and have it work along with your stuff. Here's the LED lights that makes the pretty colors. The hub distance is the distance within the hub itself, I believe. Macro configs, this is basically our answers of whether things are on or not. So this was all those questions that we were asked before. We did not turn on kick because I don't want to use kick. I actually want to just poop straight into, well, you know what? I'm going to go back and change that. We'll change that back to true. Capital T, R-U-E. We'll change that back to true. We're not using tip forming. We're not using hub cut. Those are fine. We don't need to comment those out. They're just not going to be called in our macros. Save this. Close this file. And we need to look at the macro variables. Okay, this is probably going to be something we need to look at. You're only half listening to the chat. That's okay, Timor. I was conducting a meeting and only half listening to myself, like earlier today. Global variables. Leave this empty. Stepper name. Travel speed. Good. Cut. AFC cut tip variables. These were the movements, and I think, once again, I'm going to cheat a bit and just, I want to see what may have changed between old and new. So 32.8, 150.50. 32.10, 150.50. Okay, so they make the variable cut fast move fraction a little bit lower, so 85% speed instead of full speed. Restore position was false. Variable retract length is 20. This is the distance for retract prior to making the cut, which reduces the unwanted filament but might cause a clog. They have it set at 20. I've been successfully running at 26. So I will update this. 26. Default 20. Yeah, well, I'm 52 and I drift around in my head a lot too. So we modified that. Variable quick tip forming set for true. Cut direction left. Variable quick tip forming is marked as false. Probably not a bad thing. Variable cut direction is left. We do want to be going left because our plunger is on the left side over here. Cut count is 2. You want to do at least 2 cuts. If you do it once, it may or may not cut all the way through. It's definitely good to do a double cut to make sure that you get a cut. If you're doing PLA, ABS, or a harder filament, probably going to cut fine on the first time. It's more of just buying you time before that blade's fully worn down and you have to replace it. If you're doing a TPU or something like that, if you can even get TPU to run through here, I haven't tried yet, you probably want 2 opportunities to do the cut. Okay, and this is going to be the interesting part. So, variable pin location. I had it set at 16 and 303. This is set at 9 and 310. So that is the back left. I can't put my plunger in the back left on this because the cable chain hits. I've got to go in the front left up here, which is where I'm set up. So what I need to do is I've homed this. I need to move my arm over here until I get it lined up so I know where the pin is. You were 30 in 1970? Sweet. So I'm going to move. Actually, where am I at right now? So let me do it this way. I'm going to save this, come back into it. I'm going to go ahead and rehome it just to make sure that we're homed. And like I said, we're going to have to move over here and find out where our pin location is at. We are all old and it's almost bedtime. But the good thing, Chewy, is none of us can hear, so. Okay, so we're at 150 on the X, so I'm just going to move over 100. We're at 150 on the Y. I'm going to move forward. All I'm doing is trying to get closer to the pin. Almost there. And I'm going to bring you guys right in here. So that is pretty much perfect alignment on that pin. In fact, let me go big size for you. Right height, and it's just touching inside the cup on that printed lever, right? So the good news is we were able to get there. We are at 1820. Okay, 18 in X, 20 in Y. Yeah, pretty much dead on. So we'll come back over here to the machine. We're going into our macros. And I'm just going to get lined up here. And we're at 18, comma space 20. And yes, I'm putting comments in here so I know when I change things. Okay. So this is where the position of the tool head, where the cutters are just slightly touching the depressor pin. And then the distance used to move the tool head to cut the filament. So this is currently set to 6. And I had mine set to 15.5. Okay. So all you're seeing is there's a couple of things that are changed, like variable pin park distance, variable cut move distance. A couple of things. There's a variable pin move distance and then the cut move distance. They're just slightly different. Oh, hold on. Let me think about that. This distance is used to move the tool head to cut the filament and to create a small safety distance that aids in generating momentum. Oh, I'm sorry. So this is the fully compressed. This should be 15.5 because that's the full amount that it needs to move. That default was what, 8.5? Helps if I read this. This distance is used to move the tool head to cut filament and to create a small safety distance that aids in generating momentum. Okay, so this particular one, yeah, my bad. No, this goes back to stock. This stays stock at 6. What this is saying is it's going to leave 6 millimeters. So this is saying it stays to the right 6 millimeters. So this will actually go to like 2420. That way it can generate 6 millimeters worth of momentum before it actually hits the hand to start the depress. And then the variable cut move distance is telling it to, once it makes that, so it will actually go to, it'll move over 15.5 from the 10, or excuse me, from the 18. So it'll go to like 3 something. Anti-crash mode, yep. Yeah. Ooh, meatballs with Korean barbecue sauce. That sounds good, Pez Liz. Happy Tuesday. Welcome on in. Yeah, so they've got good descriptions in here. Rip length and speed. Yep, those look good. Pushback length and dwell time. I had 18 and 10. They're going with 25 and 20. I'm probably going to change those for pullback and dwell. So this is, so we pulled it up to do the cut. Now how far do we push it back in and then dwell to let it re-soften so that the tip doesn't have an issue, right? So I'm going to switch over to 18 and 10 because I know that worked well at the show. Okay. What was that? 20 and 20, right? 25, 20. Regardless. One way or the other. Probably the other way, right? 25 and 20. Regardless. We made the change. Variable safe margin. The safe margin for fast and slow travel. So it's going to go to 30-30 fast and then slowly move to the spot where it goes. So this is variable, so it's a margin of 30 by 30. So it's going to move within 30 millimeters in X and Y of where we told it to, and then move over slowly to the position and then start its cut. Poop variables. Where do we want it to poop? So by default, it's set to 290, 290, which is this corner. I don't want it in this corner because my nozzle brush and everything's over here. So I want it to go back to this corner. So our thing is at 16, so we need to be at least off of 16. Let's go to like 20 and 290. I'm going to save this. Come back up here to our console, and I want to go basically to 20 and 290. Whoops. I'm like, why is that not working? Because I saved on the wrong one, just told it to home. Guess I should make sure there's nothing in here. Since I tend to use my printers as collection points for parts. So let's go to 20. And Y, let's go start moving back. There's 220. So there's 290 and 20. We're still going to be right at the edge of the bed, which is good. So that looks like a good place to be. So come back over here to macro variables. And we're now looking for the poop variables. So 20 and 290 looks good. It's not over the whatchamacallit, the wiper. So we're going to be looking at 20 and 290. For our poop location. Yeah, the ComGrow team is pretty good. Once again, I wonder how that's going to work in light of newer, we'll say, changes. 6.5, 220, 6.5, 220, pretty standard. False, 0.6 true. False, 0.6 true. Everything's looking good so far. Cooling fan speed was set to 1. Variable part cooling fan, yes. Variable purge cool time in seconds 2. So this adds a new, hey, turn the cooling fan speed up to full blast. That's a new parameter there. Purge length tuning. So this is the interesting part. So this is where you can start tuning your purge length and getting a better, more consistent purge. And if you're noticing that the colors you tend to use are rather dark, it's normally you can drop them. But if you're doing light and dark, like, I don't know, you're doing white and red and black, you might actually have to increase these. That looks like the stock size. Slicer values are often a bit too wasteful. Tune it here to get an optimal value. 0.6 is a good starting point. The variable purge length modifier is 1. I haven't obviously messed with purge length, so we're going to keep it that way. This is where I'm going to do some math. Okay, so AFC kick 275, 295. So in this case, I was moving left, dropping down, and going to the right. In this case, I'm going to purge. I'm going to want to move forward, drop down, push back. So for my kick over here, these numbers need to line up with what we did before. So I'm going to be at, X is going to stay at 20. I'm going to purge. I'm going to move forward. So my moving forward, I was at 290. I want to go forward some. So didn't need to have to move much. So we're at 290. Let's go to 270. Say 275. And then the down, I went to 5. And yes, I'm cheating. No, I'm being efficient. Variable kick Z, 1.5 height to drop, 2 for kick move. I had it at 2 versus 1.5. 1.5 will be fine. Variable kick speed 150. That tells it how fast it moves to do the kick. That is true. And we are going to be not going to the right. We're going to be going back. Because I want to push the filament off the back and hopefully into the little tray I have back there. How far to move to kick poop off? That is set to 45. I honestly don't believe I have 45 left. So that was 20. We moved 15 forward. 25. Damn, what was the default? 40? Yeah, I think if you're in this area, Evocate, do you guys refurbish the you guys refurbish Enders? I mean, I know you say you have some that have been left, like the Misfit Toys. Can't remember if you guys do into refurbs or not. Okay, so we've done some updates for our kick. So basically we're going to poop. We're going to move. So we set up the poop in the left spot where we're at. We'll move forward. We'll drop down. We'll move back rapidly to kick that filament to the back. And then we want to move over and do our nozzle clean, right? And that's what brush is. And here's where, well, I'm going to cheat. So we're going to save this. I'm going to click X. I'm going to go up. Once again, we're staying on Kyber Dragon because I have a nozzle scrub macro in here. Speed, temp, blah, 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 blah. Variable brush top, 2.5, clearance, speed, blah, 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 blah. Brush start is 60. Width is 35. So 60, 35, 0, 0. Come down to brush. Variable kick start location. Oh, that's kick. Brush location. $60, 300, -1. Now we're going to kind of check that out. So we say 60, 300, and -1. So we'll check that out on our thing. Brush width is set to 30. I want to say that was $35 and $10. That sounds about right. So 60, 300, and -1. We're going to come up here. We're going to go there's 60, there's 300, there's 0, and -1. That looks like it'll work. I'm going to just move over to the right some. I will try and move over to the right some. I think we might actually be just a little bit too low. I don't think we need to be this low. Yeah, we're definitely down in the nozzle, so I'm just going back and forth and seeing how the nozzle's reacting, because my brush on this is higher than the bed. So I think 6302 will work fine. So we'll go back to machine, macro variables, scroll down to our cleaning brush, 6300, and we'll actually be at 2. Brush clean speed 150. Brush clean acceleration 1500, sure. Brush width 35. The width of the brush in the X direction. Total depth in millimeters of the brush in the Y direction is 10. That's good, but we're pretty much at the max. This says to go in the Y and then the X. I'm actually going to change this to false. We're only going to go in the X direction. Okay. I do not want to go in the Y. This is only going to do 4 passes. That's good. And then our park. So by default, our park is in this back right corner. I don't want my park over here, because I know that it's going to do a certain routine, and it's going to be like cut, go to park, come over and wipe, go to park, come over and do purge, kick, might go to park, you know. So I want park to be over here as well. And my park set it 270 and 310. Quite honestly, I want my park to pretty much be over here where it's going to poop. So 20, 290 sounds great. So my park, I'm going to set to 20 and 290. So height to raise Z when working to park, leave 0 to disable. If you want Z hop during tool changes, please set the value. I think 0 is fine. Let me see what I did for park over here. Yep, 0 is fine. We set it to 290, 290, which was yeah, right where the poop was, so 290, 290. I set 2290, which was right where my poop was over here. So bada bing, bada boom, we're good. We're going to do a save, and we're going to do a restart. And we're going to see what happens. GPIO pen 13 is used multiple times in config. Okay. Yes, we've set it for the cutter in our AFC config, and it is also set in the Nitehawk. If I remember right. Or I'm sorry, it's set here as the filament sensor switch, but it's also set in the AFC config. So let me remove it from here. But didn't like something there. Let's see. Moonraker reports disconnected. Cannot update MCU config as it is shut down once the underlying issue. Know what that's about. Unable to read TMC. Okay, so we're having an issue and the printer is not coming up. It's taking weird errors. I think I know what the problem is. We'll try and do a restart one more time. And if I get something similar to what I just saw, yeah. So leg one, there's weird TMC errors, and I expected this somewhat. Okay, so we're shutting things down. We shut things down, and I shut things off. I'm going to unplug my Bowden tube. And to make things easier, I'm going to unplug the 4-pin CAN wire in the back so that we can flip the box turtle on its side. Me and my box turtle aficionados are in here. I'm going to have to do more than just the side. Darn it. Bear with me momentarily. I need a box. Oh, crap. Hey, look, we got a box. Box from West 3D. We'll get into the box from West 3D here shortly. But what I need to do is, sad day, put the box turtle on its back. And I have a feeling I know what the issue is. And where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go, George? Which way did it go? Pretty sure I know what the problem is, and I've got the solution already. You may ask, what is the problem? So, these are TMC 22, Big Tree Tech TMC 2209 version 1.2s. These work great on older boards or like a ramps board. Every time I try and put them in a newer board, they tell me to get bent. So we're going to swap them out with some TMC 2209 version 1.3 boards. Don't ask me. I just always know that it happens that way. You didn't stand on your head when you clicked the reset button. Really, Chewy? Now my Amazon hookup was nice enough to bring me 12 of these. And by Amazon hookup, I mean, you know, I ordered these and they delivered them yesterday. So I have 12 of these, which surprisingly enough works out because I have 3 AFC-Lite boards. It's almost like I was planning on these not working. So we get to put on our little heat sinks and then do some driver swaps. Oh yeah, and the funny thing is Mrs. Dragon gives me crap because she's like, oh, you know, every time I'm gone, I come home and there's boxes everywhere. You've been going, you know, you shop and this, that, and everything else. I swear to God, every day that since she's been home this week, or actually every day since she's been home, there has been a box show up from Amazon, Lane Bryant, you know, pick a place. So, hey Jedi Spidey, how's it going? Hope you're doing well, my friend. So we did the CANbus. So we got the CANbus set up. We just got our config set up and we did our reboot after setting up our initial config for the AFC-Lite board, and it promptly told us to get bent. And I have a feeling the issue is the TMC drivers. There's a reason that I am not running those TMC drivers on anything. They've been sitting over on like I think I pulled those off of a SKR V13 board. So they're probably sitting over there for a reason. They will be put back on that V1 1.3 board because that's about where the last place they worked. So yeah, they primarily ship things unless I get some small electronic component and like a box of water. Because then they'll throw those in the same box and try and, you know, we play Russian roulette to see if they damage the sensitive electronic component. Now, sorry if you heard that. I need to raise the board up a little bit in order to pull some of the sockets out. So we'll undo these screws. We got to take these out so we can raise the board up some to make it easier to get these drivers out. So the problem with that, Waters, is I've tried to set that up before, but I get impatient, right? Or, hey, I need these drivers. I don't want to wait till Tuesday because I stream on Tuesday, and they may or may not show up before the stream. And so I kind of get myself caught in a catch-22 of I need it or I want it, and I don't want to wait. All right, so there's one. I'm going to try and just pull all these out, and then we'll put the new ones in. Come on, darn it. Not like there's wires that would get in the way. And once again, it would probably be so much easier to do this, you know, undo a couple of wires or something. We're like, nah, we're going to shoot from the hip. I am sure I'm not going to, you know, get some pins in the wrong spot. And if I do, well, I've got another AFC-Lite board and parts. Okay, so that's there. One side in, other side's going in. Unite, go. So there we have it. Just like that, we have swapped out some of the, I was going to say brains. They're not brains, they're drivers. We swapped out the drivers for that. We're going to set this back up here. And plug her back in. Apparently it's easier said than done when I shut the light off so you guys aren't being blinded by the light the whole time. All right. Sorry about that. Hey, you're always short on something. Amazon's the place to get it quickly. Yeah, like there's so many things like I want to get this from West 3D or I want to get this from KB 3D, but it's like I also want it tomorrow. So uh-oh, Waters was in an ad. Yep, we got another couple of seconds in an ad. Printer is trying to come back up. I just heard lanes going. I'm seeing lights. So you guys just missed that, but it just went through and checked all the lanes. So I'm going to, let me see. I'm going to reboot this so we can see that effect again as it goes through and does everything. Booting, we're booting, we're booting. Still booting. Okay. You can do it. Klipper screen's coming up, and then here we go. Lane 2's moving, light comes on, lane 3 moves, lane 4 moves. So the lane 3 light didn't come on. So that's something we need to look at. That could just be I jostled a wire. Actually, the lane light should all be right here in the front. So I'll have to look at that. It could, let me think through this. If there was a break in the wire or wires were reversed, this light wouldn't come on at all. Because if the power or the ground wasn't right, the lights wouldn't come on. If the signal was bad, because the signal does have to travel all the way through to get to the last one, right? Hey, have a good night, cruising girl. Yeah, family time is always good. And hey, Waters is back from ads. Awesome. So the big thing was is I had a feeling that's what it was. The TMC error was going to be from the version 1.2 of the boards. There's a reason why these aren't being run on my normal boards. So I'm going to have to take these and I'm going to put them back where they belong, which is over here on an old, I think it's like an SKR 1.3 or 1.4 board. And we've got 3 out of 4 lights showing up. I don't know, like we got movement, we're just not getting a light. Sorry, I'm eating something real fast. But I am right, the power has to be all the way through and the ground has to be all the way through, or you'll notice where the break is because nothing will work past that. Nothing will have light. So this could be a signal issue or it could be a, I don't know. I don't know. I also am not sure why I'm getting different color on the lights. I do, but I don't. All I got to do is say I like getting thank you notes from Zivy. Ooh, we'll look at this stash here in a second. Let's focus on what we're doing here. So we've got our system back up and running. It is talking here. We have seen it do. It has moved all of the respoolers, so our respoolers are working. We do get 3 out of 4 lights. I don't know why this one's not working yet. We'll take a look at that. On our screen, we've now picked up the AFC board temperatures. So we have the AFC board, the Leviathan board, the AFC board, the chamber temp on the chamber temp that's on top of our stealth burner tool head, the Leviathan board, which is the MCU underneath, the NH temp, that's the Nitehawk temp, and then the Raspberry Pi temperature. And the Raspberry Pi is hotter than everything, so I need to figure out a way of keeping that a little bit cooler. Right now, my airflow for my electronic deck does not turn on until like a motor or the heat bed's turned on, right? So currently we are all the way in the back at the brush area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say home all. We're going to go through and do a homing sequence. Okay, and I do want to make aware that we've got a turtle here. That's pretty cool. We've got our little ASCII turtle. But let's see what our errors were. Warning, buffer turtleneck not found in hardware config file. So that could be an issue. We told it about the buffer. I commented out the buffer. It's probably got that buffer called somewhere else. Hey, later, Chewy. Wait. No, my bad. Sorry. Later, Waters. I will DM you and we'll chat some so we can figure out a good time for me to come and chat with you all. So cool. So we took a warning because the buffer is not there. I commented out the buffer in the AFC config, I think, or no, in the hardware. So it may be getting called somewhere else. I'm going to have to build one of those, so no big deal. Hopefully I can get that built and at least configured and installed before Thursday. So it says leg 1 is empty, ready for spool. Leg 2 is empty, ready for spool. Leg 3 empty, ready for spool. Leg 4 empty, ready for spool. Lanes ready, hub not clear. So it says the hub is currently triggered. Nothing in the hub. I'm going to validate that there should be nothing in the hub by shoving something in the hub from the back, because I don't have anything in there yet. So I'm listening for a click. Okay, and I'm not hearing a click. So Okay, so I'm not hearing a click. Is Thunder Keys around? Or did he take off? Let me see who's still here. It says Thunder Keys is here. Thunder Keys, can you hear me? Can you hear me? It was very, very bad. All right, I'm going to put the turtleneck up on its side. We're just going to take a look at some, which is a little bit harder with the legs on it because it wants to tilt. So I'm not hearing a click. What I'm going to do is pull out and go in from this side versus trying to shove in from the other side. Go in the tube, come around. Okay, awesome. So believe it or not, I think I just broke off a piece of filament in the darn thing. And I'm not sure why, but I am hearing it click now. So I've got good clicky clicky. There went the piece of filament. So I think whatever the issue was is possibly now cleared. We'll see. Whoops, what'd I do? Did something. Did something. Just doing a quick reboot again. Okay. Check this one, check this one, check this one, check that one. Okay. So let's see. We're gonna go over and I'm just gonna look at the console to see what we're seeing. So buffer turtleneck not found yet. It still says lanes are ready, but hub is not clear. it is entirely possible that I've swapped the wires on the hub. So we'll come into the machine, go to AFC. I think AFC hardware. They include MCU AFC-Lite. Where is our hub? Leg 4, filament switch sensor hub. I'm going to put an exclamation point. Save, restart. It is quite possible that I rolled those. Warning, buffer TN not found. What? A new warning? Oh no, that's the same. That was the turtleneck buffer not found. And we've now got prepping lanes. The buffer not found, we know we didn't plug it in. Lane 1, 2, 3, and 4 already. And we've gotten rid of the issue in the back. Now the question is, do we get instrumentation down here? Yes. So we've got filament is empty. That should be our tool head. Hub is empty. And the tool start is empty. I'm going to come in from the back with a piece of filament. All right, I think I'm having an issue with the rear hub filament sensor. There is filament there and it's not saying anything. It should be triggering if it notices or feels filament. So I'm going to have to take a look at that because we're going to need to know that the hub's working. So the other thing we're going to do is we're going to fix this stuff. Right? There's way too much stuff there. Yeah. So how I normally fix that, well, I'll do that off stream. That's not needed. I am going to shut things down. We will pull this back off and get it back up here on the bench because I want to see why that it could be a bad wire. I may have busted the wire. But we need to see why that hub is still staying triggered. So we'll bring our box back over here and Waters is out. Shenanigans went on lurk because he's got to work. He drives. I'm glad you're going to lurk and not like try and watch and drive at the same time. One of the LDO Box Turtle beta testers will be streaming a live unboxing in 50 minutes. I am interested. So he's going live at 9. He or she. I'm going to check and see who it is. Oh, Armored 3D Printing. Is that Armored Turtle himself? So what I'm going to need to do is take a couple things out and I'm going to remove this back extrusion and we're going to see if there's something busted on this end of the wire. Actually, I guess I could also try and look at the other side too. The hub is the lowest one over there. Actually, how about this? So this is the hub wire that's coming around, I believe. Not hub wires. So that is the hub wire. It could be that it got pinched. It could be that it could be that I pinched a wire. It could be that I broke a wire. It could be that that wire is not being done at all. So let me get rid of a couple zip ties. Cut that one. Wire's doing. Ooh. Okay. So like I said, I want to get into this extrusion, and I just want to check that wiring at the hub. For all I know, it could be that I was doinking around and didn't realize, and the ball for that hub is, I don't know, somewhere. Just not where it's supposed to be. It very well could happen, folks. Hey, Tugboat, how's it going? Tugboat, I'm sorry. Were you waiting for something from me again? I'm trying to think. Was it is it the Klipper firmware or a you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna have to take these off. I don't know. I know you were asking about something. For the life of me, I can't put two and two together right now. Klipper firmware. Okay, do you need the Klipper config, or do you need to know how to load Klipper firmware on the actual SKR Mini? Kind of two different things there. Okay, now this can come out. Set that aside. Pull the hub up and out. I disconnect ETF tubes. Most likely make it a little bit easier. Yeah. Screw down. Oh, okay, you did. I just noticed that you responded Thunder Keys, so that's not. Like, why does it not sound like there's a bearing in here? I very well might have lost my bearing. Nope, there's bearing in there. Very much in the right spot. Okay. Where, oh where, tonight you leave me here. I wonder if I just have some, how'd this print? Just printed like this, so that would have been an overhang on the one side. I wonder if there's just a little bit of a nugga there. That is keeping the bearing from dropping down enough, and therefore, like always being in a triggered state. That looks like it's dropped down a little bit more. Yeah, so I think the issue here, folks, so this part prints like this, which means the hole that the bearing is in has an overhang on one side. So what I had to do was go in there with a pair of tweezers and just basically scrape the top edge of that hole to make sure that any like overhang that kind of drooped is out of the way. And now when I put that in there, you can't see the ball, but if I take filament, right, no ball, ball, no ball, ball. So I think that's all we needed was that right there, and that will allow that ball to drop completely down. We'll get our end stop back in here in the correct position without dropping our ball out of place. What is the deal here? Okay, and once again, this basically sits in a horizontal position like this, and I'm just going to be listening for the click. Okay, now I've got click. So, problem solved. Goes this way, this goes this way. And in there like that. And the weird thing is I was pretty sure that I checked that, but I guess I didn't. That goes like that. Wire will get brought around and back in a second. Well, it's still plugged in, but I mean, zip tied in a minute. Ooh, there we go. As you can see, I mean, from a physical standpoint, it's pretty easy to work on the box turtle. The hard part is um, the hard part is just the wiring over here on the side. It just gets really busy over by the wiring. Get that part done. I do have to set it back up on its side to get the feet back in. So before we do that, let's go ahead and put a couple of zip ties back in here. Um, two. Third one, make sure all of the wire. And what was the ask there? Yeah, you're asking for the Rook. So he needs the SKR Mini E3 V3 firmware. And once again, do you need the Klipper bin file for the board? Or are you needing the baseline printer.cfg file. And yes, the Rook 2020 is sensorless for X and Y. That's there, that's there. This gets over here. And so we're going to have to put this up on its front edge because we've got to hold the M5 nuts in the slot over here when we go to put our feet on. Okay, so we're back together. I believe we have solved our problem. We will set this back up here. Plug ourselves back in. And start power on yet again. Thank you there, Mr. Wizix. You have 0 firmware on it. I have the Orca slicer file. That's it. Okay. So yeah, you'll generate a firmware.bin. You'll do that on the Raspberry Pi, right? You'll do that on the Raspberry Pi. You will WinSCP that over to your host machine and drop it onto an SD card. Put that in the SD card slot on your SKR Mini E3 V3. Turn it on, right? It will do its thing. And then I'm trying to think, see if this thing's going to. Give it a few seconds and it'll flash that firmware. You can take that SD card out, it doesn't need to stay in there. Then we'll send you a printer.cfg file that'll get you started, and that will go in your Klipper. How can you get Klipper screen? The best way to do that, how do I get over the Raspberry Pi? So if you get the same screen that I use, it's a DSI screen, and it's going to plug in with a cable from the back of your screen to the Raspberry Pi DSI connection. And what died here? AFC, unable to connect to the AFC. You are correct. I am not getting power to the AFC. Okay. I am getting an intermittent connection, so let me check something here. Man, if it is not one thing, it is I got a pen that has backed out of the connector on the bottom, so we will shut down, and I'll show you real fast how you do your cable. We're going to unplug that, and we need to put this over on its side, which, by the way, is a lot easier when you don't start putting panels on it. We'll drop the bottom deck here. Are you connecting it via the GPIO pins? If you're connecting it via the GPIO pins instead of the USB cable, then you want the USART or USART UART method. Darn you. Okay. One cable, or the one that I don't want in to pull. So the issue is it feels like one of the pins keeps backing out a little bit. And unfortunately, the pin that's backing out or is not fully seated happens to be the power pin. Okay. And of course, it's going to fight me. And it's going to fight me on the connector that I super glued in. Aha. Isn't that amazing? Bear with me one second, folks. I really don't have a good angle to show you guys what I'm doing here. I don't know if it could just be that I'm pulling that cable itself a little bit too tight and it's arguing with me or what, but we'll... Now, should still be able to get that because all I can do, or all I have to do is pull the, call it a set screw, little button head screw out. That's what holds the, or keeps the connector from getting pushed back out when I'm trying to put in the connector from the front. Provided that whole thing did not get super glued in, which it didn't, to be able to push it back out. And of course, like I said, it's the power pin that keeps like backing out a bit when I push it in. So I just need to try and get it seated just a tiny bit more. And the issue with these, the cable is so darn big and the connectors have little wings on them, and it looks like the wings may have got pushed in. Let me see if I can fix the wing and get this back seated. Oh yeah. How about we just do that? We will recrimp that connector, what we're going to do. So tugboat, bear with me. Let me get this connector redone and I will show you the underpinnings of this before we close it back up. So, and when I'm talking about wings, I have a macro camera. There are little wings on the side of this. I can get it to come on, focus. There are little wings off the side of this part. Those little wings are what clip into the housing. So you got to be careful that you don't collapse those wings down, because then they can't hold on, and you'll pull the connector right back out. And of course, on a 24-volt power connector, you kind of don't want that connector coming out. So we'll try and get a better crimp going here. Let's see if we can get this in there without issue. All right, I think that solved our problem. I'm going to put this in back on here. And rather than run it through the cable chain, I'm just going to get this lined up and push back in there. Screw this back in. Nice door. All right. Problem solved. Okay, so yes, Kaya is super handy to get everything installed. So on your screen, the Raspberry Pi, your cable will most likely have words on one side, and on the Raspberry Pi side, you've got the whatchamacallit, like the metal pins of this cable facing the center of the board. And then over here, once again, the metal pins of the cable, if you can see the shiny, whoops, there we go. If you can see, there's some shiny pins right there on the cable. They're facing away from the back of the board. Okay, if that makes sense. That's your connection. Okay, so this connection is now in there. That's there. We're going to close this back up. And what time is it? We're getting close to the top of the hour. I would like to sign off here in a few minutes. I will raid out to somebody, but I, for one, plan to go over and watch, what's his name? Armor 3D printing. I'll put this back over here. And this is for a gentleman that's going to be unboxing the LDO kit of the box turtle. I should be doing that myself in some weeks. You have that like that? Okay. Klipper goes on the Pi. Yes, you have to install Klipper on the Raspberry Pi, and then you will use Klipper to build the firmware. Now, you can use the pre-canned firmware, Klipper firmware for an SKR Mini E3v3. The problem is I don't know how old it is, and you may get a Klipper mismatch between the version that you are now running on your Pi and the version you put on the board. In which case, you just basically build the firmware on the Pi, following the standard instructions, and go from there. That up there, get that out of the way. Bring this cable back down here and plug it in. Plug the power cable in. Cross our fingers, cross our toes. I've got power on the AFC now. Hooray, hooray. For right now, I am just going to put this tube all the way in, like just through the back, and plug it in. Eventually, I will add the buffer, and I'm debating whether I just put a straight out the back here, or if I continue to do the out the side and then kind of mount the buffer underneath and just kind of do a loop around to the buffer and then a loop around into the back of the box turtle. Basically I'm talking about coming out of the back side of the printer, doing a loop around to the buffer, and then coming out of the buffer this way, looping around into the back of the box turtle. The only thing I can kind of think about it, and we just took an error. What error did we take? Internal error on command prep. Once the underlying issue is corrected, use the firmware restart command. Internal error on prep. Still complaining there's no box or no whatchamacallit. So let me I'm just going to take a quick look through here real fast and see if there's anything in here that calls the hub. We're not calling either one of these two macros, so it's not there. This macro, which is AFC macro variables. Not seeing anything in here that talks about the thing. Did I miss something all the way down here on the turtleneck? AFC buffer TN. Completely commented out. And this is hardware, so this isn't calling a macro or anything. Nothing in the standard AFC macros. These are just standard ping call outs. There's nothing in here that would even remotely be the turtleneck. Hey, Free Heathen. Yeah, I feel you. I was just taking weight off my foot because, yeah, I'm feeling it. Lane 2, lane 3, lane 4. Warning, buffer TN not found. Lanes ready. So the buffer TN not found, and now we're taking a hub not clear issue again. Why? Oh. Why is the hub not clear? Why is the hub not clear? Probably because we tried flipping the hub thinking I had the wire backward. So now that we've got the hub, the ball bearing fixed and working, okay, so that just worked. We're up and we're ready. And that's where we're going to leave it for the night, folks. Um, my good friend Free Heathen is right. We're going to take a break. I'm going to flip over to YouTube and watch Armored, what's his name, unbox his LDO turtle box kit. And that is the link that I just posted in there. I'm going to go sit down. I will raid out. Yes, the best thing I will tell you to do, Tugboat, is I will send you a link that should have some good instructions in it for just running through installing. Best thing I'm going to tell you is install Mainsail OS via the Raspberry Pi imager. Okay. Once you install Mainsail OS, you can then go in and you install Kaya and use Kaya to install Klipper screen, which will give you your Klipper screen. Your screen should be working. You should see the console and all the the normal Linux stuff rolling on the screen. But use the Raspberry Pi imager. It's, oh crap. Hold on one second. Here. Whoop. Not that screen, this screen. We're going to go to this screen. I'm going to bring up the Raspberry Pi imager. Okay. Choose device. Don't care. Pick whichever one you're doing. I just did a Raspberry Pi 3. Choose OS. Okay. Well, yes and no. You'd have to plug in keyboard. Well, yeah, you can use it as a monitor. It should, if it's connected, it should be good. So under operating system, scroll down here to other specific purpose OS. See where it says 3D printing? Click on that. We're going to do 3D printing. And then these kind of randomly shift around. So you're just going to look for Mainsail OS. Okay. Select this. It is the 64-bit version. No big deal. Choose your storage. Set any of your settings, right? Set up your Wi-Fi. Be smart. Set up your Wi-Fi and all that stuff. So in this version, once you choose your storage, you'll say next. It'll ask you if you want to use the settings, set up your wireless. I would highly suggest leaving it Pi Raspberry. You can always change that password later. Leave it as Pi Raspberry. Run it. It'll do its verify, all that good stuff. Put that in your Raspberry Pi. Turn your Raspberry Pi on. You have to leave that in the Raspberry Pi, okay? Because that is now the hard disk for the Raspberry Pi. It will boot up. You should see the screen boot up and do its thing. Chances are your screen is going to be upside down. There's a link that LDO has that I always use for how to flip it right side up and do all that good stuff. But that's stuff that we can talk through, or I can ping you on Discord. I will send you like direct links to that page, to that piece. But for now, folks, I am going to find a raid target and we're going to raid out. I need to get off this foot because it is starting to bug me. So, quick raid target. Who's on? Jano's on. Pesla's is on. What? Boom, done. We're going over to Pesla's. I have no idea what she's doing. Productive stream. Yeah, right, Liz. So yeah, I just got the raid started over to Pesla's. Thank you everybody for being here. We're really close. We're ready to start loading up filament and testing out the functions. I'll probably do some of that off stream just to make sure it's like everything we just set up, that it goes to the right place, blah, blah, blah. I'll verify all that before the next stream, and Thursday night we'll come back and get this going. So thanks a lot, everybody. I can't guarantee I'll get the camera fixed, but I'll keep trying to work on that as well. So thanks everybody for being here and hanging out with me, and enjoy the raid over to Pez Liz, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye now.